a battery-powered shop vac with lasers from Ego. Ego just released their brand new 9-gallon wet-dry vacuum that's powered by their 56-volt battery, has 110 CFM, and it includes a remote. This is the brand new Ego 9-gallon wet-dry vacuum. Now this runs on their 56-volt arc lithium battery technology, which basically the same battery that all of their tools use, a lot of their lawn tools as well as other accessories and equipment that run on that same battery, including like zero turns and lawn tractors as well. So that's what powers this new vacuum. We get a brushless motor that develops up to 110 CFM of air movement. Now there's some really cool features in this, but let me point out one thing that was really exciting when I got the box. Literally, I should have showed opening the box. I typically don't do that, but I opened the box and I pulled out a box with this charger in it, and I pulled out a box with this battery in it, and that was it. Other than grabbing this handle, there was a clear bag over it, but otherwise grabbing this handle and pulling it out. Everything else, wheels were on it, swivel wheels were on it, cap was on it, all the accessories were in their place. So it was really nice not to have to put anything together whatsoever. Just pull this out, and I haven't even opened the inside. Well, I took the lid off and looked, but I haven't touched anything. So everything you see here, other than unboxing this battery and charger, is as it came in the box. Everything in its place, and we'll show you here in just one moment. Now let's take a quick look here at the outside. First, you see for picking up those wet things like water and dirty water and other liquids that may spill. When you want to drain that, you've got a cap right here, and it's not just plastic to plastic. We have a rubber O-ring, or that's not an O-ring, but a rubber gasket, may even be a silicone gasket, but you get it, a softer material in there that's actually sealing and not just a plastic cone that's going hard plastic to hard plastic. So you can screw that on, give it a good snug, and now it's nice and sealed. Obviously, here's your intake port for hooking up the hose that we'll find in a moment. And then there's some other indentions in here that I'm sure other accessories are probably going to find their place in. The side locks are large right here on the side. Just push that, it unlocks. Push that back, and that locks it back down. Up front, we get swivel casters that look to be about 3 inches, and they're also locking. So if you get it in place and you want it to kind of stay there, push these down, and that's going to lock it in place. That happens here on both of the front wheels. Now, if we take a look out back, we get larger wheels that are 6 inches, and it looks like they have like a rubberized over molding on them. So plastic wheel with a little bit of a rubber grip on the outside, but really easy to maneuver this wherever you need it to go. Taking a look here on the backside, we chose for the dual exhaust option. No, actually, not sure what that is, but again, I'm assuming that more accessories go there, and then obviously a clip here for another accessory. I'm assuming probably extensions go here, and probably like a floor sweep or a larger mouth sweep that will probably clip in right there. Now, if we take a look here under the belly, then as we were just talking about, I'm sure that's where those extensions go right there, because that's our rear exhaust, or our place that we can store those wands and extensions right there under the belly. That's a great place, because whoever needs that space, nobody. So great place to put those. Now here on the backside top of the vacuum is our exhaust port. So that's where all the air is going to exit, which you can hook the hose up there as well. It looks like so that you can actually have a blower. And this is where the battery is going to attach. And then we have this button right here, and that's for cleaning the filter. So while it's running, you want to hit this a few times. As it states right here, turn it on, hook up your hose, and then hit that a few times. And what that's going to do, if there's any dust, like drywall dust and maybe some fine sand particles or concrete dust, that will help clear that filter, kind of knock it off like you're actually hitting it on the ground and dust flies everywhere. Well, now you can do that, and it stays inside the vacuum. And again, doing that every few times if you're in a dusty environment is definitely going to help. So this is where our 5 amp hour battery is going to slide on. But if you're running a 7.5 amp hour or 6 amp hour or 10 or 12 amp hour batteries, any of the 56 volt batteries are going to work. Now, if you've got smaller 2.5s, then you can run it, but you're just going to have less of runtime than with a 5 amp hour, obviously. And again, more areas for storing accessories right here on the back. And we can't drive this home enough that we have more clips for holding accessories, hoses, things like that. There's nothing more frustrating about a shop vac and even other pieces of equipment that have hoses and cords and no place to wrap them or store them. So I love it when the manufacturers are thinking outside the box or inside the box to make sure that everything is nice and contained in an orderly manner. Right here, pretty simple. We have a power button. We have a start stop. So yes, we can turn the power on and actually start and stop the unit as well. We'll go over that here in one moment. We have a speed button. That's going to control your low and your high. And then we have a turbo button. So we have a level higher than just low and high. There's another way to control this as well. If I flip the hood up here, we can see, number one, some different accessories here. So nice brush, soft bristle brush. There's a wider mouth with a little bit of a, almost like a felt right there. So again, a soft edge, if you will, not real thick, but not going to scratch a hard surface. And then right there's a little small adapter as well for, it looks like stepping down to a smaller hose. And then right here is a pretty cool thing. This is a remote. So we don't have to come to the unit to actually turn it on and off. And there's some pretty cool integration into this as well. But you can see we've got a little light right there. And we have the turbo button and the start stop button. So we can actually be using this and then call on the turbo mode and then call it off, as well as do your start and stop as well. So we're going to leave that here for right now. We'll come back to that in just one moment. Now, before we go any further, let's go ahead and just get an overall measurement. So about 21.5 inches tall to the top of the handle. And as far as length, looks like about 22 inches long as well. And then width of the unit is going to be about 16 inches wide. Now, as I mentioned, we have taken the lid off, but have not removed any of the contents. So we'll go ahead and unlock this. Love those broad locks, by the way. And lift this off. Okay, so all of this stuff was inside the 9-gallon vacuum body. And let's first get this filter out of the way. This is very, very important, and I'll explain why in just one moment because I'm going to go in depth on this. But I highly recommend you running one of these. You don't have to. The unit will absolutely work without it, but I highly recommend it. And again, I will go in much more detail on this in just a moment. But right now, we're going to put it in the body of the vac and go over the rest of these accessories. Now, first, we get a hose. I believe this is 8 or 10 feet long. So yes, we get an 8-foot hose. I'm ripping everything else all over the table here. But we get an 8-foot hose and locking tabs on this side here. We get an air bleed right there. We can turn that and allow air to come in here to keep vacuum moving. Because if you stop your suction, then you have no more vacuum, just so you know that. Maybe sucking your hand, but it's not creating any more airflow. So you can create some airflow by opening that up a little bit, especially when you're working on automotive carpets and things. It's good to keep that air moving a little bit. You may want to bleed out some air. Anyway, so 1.8 inches on the outside, 1.57 on the inside. And then here on where it goes into the vacuum, you have 2.2 inches and 2-inch on the inside. Move that aside here for a second. Oh, and one more thing. Right here, I want you to know, can you guess what goes on there? We'll show you here in just a second. So we get 2 extension wands, so 16, almost 17 inches long. And these are 1.5 on the outside at one end and 1.25 inch. So it'd be just ready for that to receive in here. So 1.5 on the inside here and 1.785, 1.75 on the outside. And Same thing with this one here. So now we get a complete, 32-inch extension with the two wands together. Then we get a floor sweep or a wide mouth accessory. But then we get these two units as well. So this is like a bristle, and this is like a squeegee, so it'd be great for wet applications. And then these will just clip right here into place. So they clip right there. And then if I want to swap that out, push out the clips. And now go to the squeegee. So really handy. And this one's probably my favorite accessory. You can see it's got kind of a smoked clear acrylic. And this is going to get you in those tight areas or around the door jambs around cars and on those crevices and corners where the carpet meets plastic areas, and you're trying to suck up those little areas, or in between seats, things like that. Great little wand for that. But this little cool thing right here, let's show you what that does in just one moment. A couple more things before we crank this thing up and use it. So here is our pleated filter. We don't have a round canister filter on this vacuum. We have a box or a cubed or a rectangle pleated filter. And to remove this, pull down this clip, and now the whole filter comes out. Pull the filter out of there. It looks just like a cabin air filter or an air filter on a car. Put your new one in, close up the clip, and now it's locked into place. You can also see we get a rubber seal all the way around the power head that seals up to the body. Now, as we mentioned, we're going to get to the filter in a few minutes, but let's remove that. And let's get this power head put back on, and just as easy as setting it down there, closing the locks, and you're ready to roll. Now let's complete our dual exhaust. And just as we thought, looks really nice back there, and nice and tidy place to keep that. Comes out easy as you need it. Shove it back into place when you don't. Okay, let's go ahead and put on our battery. Check the battery level. Love that big bright green display, and you can easily tell what level your battery's at. And here on the back, put our floor sweep. And here in this hole, we'll go our crevice tool. And it looks like the only thing left over is the additional accessory for the kind of the floor sweep, the wide mouth accessory. So you can put one of them on there, but not sure what to do with this. I guess you could store it inside, but maybe I spoke too soon that everything was thought of, but you may want to hang on to this somewhere important. Then we'll hook up our hose, locking hose. Love that. So push these two tabs in, pull it out, push it in, locks into place. You hear the loud snap. We're good to go. Clip your hose into place, and now we're ready to roll. So let's first open our hood and grab this little remote here. Now let's talk about a couple of things with this remote. Number one, right here is a little metal tab there on the end of the hose, and underneath here is a magnet. And so that magnetizes right there on the end of the hose, so you can start it up, turn on a light, and hit the turbo mode. Now let me show you something. I'm going to hit the start button, and nothing is happening. Why is that? Well, I'll show you why. So when you put your battery in, before you can use the start stop, the turbo, the speed, any of that, none of that is activated until you power it on. So just like, other kind of main safety switches, if you will, we first have to power up the unit. Now when I hit the power button, it does not start up the vacuum. Now it just enables it. So now we see we're on speed high, now we're on speed low, and if we hit the turbo button, then we're in turbo. But until we hit either the turbo button or the start stop, it does not actually turn on the vacuum. All the power button does is basically activate it or allow it to have power. Now these buttons will work, as well as now these buttons will work. So I can hit start, turns on the unit, I can hit the turbo button, so I'm not powering the unit down, but I am turning off the motor. So It's kind of active right now and waiting for this Bluetooth call, as well as I can hit my little light button here, which that gets better as well. Let's take a look. So let's pull out our crevice tool, which again has the little funky spoiler right there, little runway, and let's plug this into our unit. And now watch this. So obviously that's a nice crevice tool, which I'll get tons of suction through there. But not only that, watch when I turn on the light. You see that light running down here? So just like a fiber line, same thing's happening right there. So we can actually provide some light in those dark areas when we're using this crevice tool. Pretty cool idea to not have to have any power here, just having that acrylic tube down there, and now it's going to shine a light wherever we point it. And just in case you're wondering, on this remote right here on the back side of it, open up this little rubber cover and you can charge this with a USB Type-C. So no coin batteries to replace, just open the cover and charge it up. So we've got the power head off just to show you the filter, how pristine it is. It's brand new, hasn't been used. The body, the inside of the actual vacuum is brand new, spotless. Never had dirt in it or anything. So I'm going to show you a test on why you need a filter bag. And real quick, I just noticed something else really cool. Watch this. If I set this up right, look at these legs right here. It's not sitting on the filter. It's not sitting on the motor or anything else. Those legs or those stanchions are acting as a pad, 4 legs for it to actually sit on. Just, I don't know, thought it was kind of cool. Okay, we're going to put in our filter bag, and this is real easy. We just kind of lay it down in here, and this thing right here, this piece of cardboard, just slides all the way in and sits right there. So that rubber gasket, when the power head goes on, the inlet is actually going, or which would be kind of the exhaust coming down in here, is going to fit right in there and seal right on that little rubber gasket O-ring. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to go ahead and power this unit up, and we're going to have it on speed high. Remember, we're low, high, and turbo. We're just going to keep this in high, or let's say medium, whatever. The middle speed, not the turbo speed, and we'll power it on from the wand in just 1 second. Okay, so we've got a clean worktop. Let's unclean it. 5 gallons of dust and dirt off the floor. These are chainsaw carvings, shavings, whatever. So we're in high, we're not in turbo, so I would call that medium. And let's start this up. Okay, now let's see what we've got here. Pull off our battery. Pull off our hose. Pull out our bag. So first, you see our bag is nice and full and all of the junk in there. You can see that our filter is still immaculate. It's still absolutely pristine and clean. You also see the inside of our vacuum is still pristine, nice and clean. That is why I think it's imperative that you use a filter bag, especially when you're vacuuming up dry goods. Now, wet goods, no, you're going to pull your filter out if you're actually vacuuming up water or other wet stuff. But any dry goods, highly recommend you running a filter bag, because not only are you containing all of it, so now you can just take this and throw it away, but also you're extending the life of this filter right here, not having to clean it or replace it. Okay, just so there's no funny business, I'm going to take a razor blade and I am going to cut this bag open. Nothing like a one-time use bag, right? Well, it is what it is. So now we've vacuumed up the dust with the filter in place, or the bag filter in place, and everything is still nice and beautiful. Now let's leave out the bag. We've got our new or brand new filter, because it really hasn't been touched because of the filter bag. Lock this in place and let's vacuum up the same stuff again. So we'll dump out our same ruins. Now let's take the power head off. And obviously we're going to have a mess in there. And look right here. Obviously we have sawdust all inside these pleats, which why wouldn't we? So you see how much is just caught in there. Where before, when we used the bag, we had zero of that. So how many more times are we going to use that before that filter becomes clogged or plugged? That's not an ego problem. That's a filter problem in general. That's just what filters do. They filter out crud in the air. So when all that's swirling all around, it's going to find its way in the filter unless you use a pre-filter, which is that fleece bag, to capture 99% of this stuff. And that's only the start of it. And you know, much of that you'll never get out, all of the fine dust. And now my vacuum's all dirty. Everything's already filthy, where if I would have used that bag, all of this would have been almost pristine, as well as the bucket. Okay, now we've taken out our fleece bag. We've taken out our filter so that we can suck up some water. And let's go ahead and take this remote off. And then we're just going to take this thing for a plunge. Let's make sure we close that up. And we've gone ahead and turned it on speed high, but let's go ahead and go to turbo mode and see how long it takes to suck up these 5 gallons and see if it sucks up all 5 gallons. Here we go. Okay, so I don't know if it went into some sort of override, too much suction power, or if maybe that it filled up the water volume and it's got a float switch in there. I'm going to try to call this back on. So no, it's not wanting to power back on. So I'm assuming there's a float switch in there and we just tripped it. It looks like right at 5 gallons because we got almost all of that water out of there. Pull this hose out. Okay, we've emptied our water. We put our fleece bag back in. Let's power this on. Hit the button, see if it works again. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, so just the float switch kicked on, shut the unit down. So it looks like max water capacity or fluid capacity is going to be right at the 5 gallon mark. So I went ahead and pulled the floor mats out of one of our SUVs around here. And this is literally how it came out. So lots of junk on here. But I did notice something when I was grabbing a couple of these accessories here, is that these actually lock into place. So when I push this in, You hear it lock right there. So it locks right into place. See that little tab right there? As long as that lines up, that clicks into place. Now you can still swivel it in here, but you can pull it out. But if you turn it right there, it's going to lock that into place and it won't come out. By the way, when you're detailing vehicles and specifically vacuuming floor mats or carpets or trunks or the cargo areas of SUVs, it's not just suction power that makes a difference. You also have to agitate everything, because into the bottom of those floor mats and carpets, and you have to get that up. It's not just suction power that's going to do it. And by the way, when you let that suck straight down to the carpet, now it's no longer has any air moving, and so you really have lost suction. Even though it sucked it to the carpet, there's no air moving to pull all that stuff up. So more CFM or more suction power is not going to do that. You need to get that agitated and keep that air flowing in order to get all that sand out of those carpets. Hey, we think this is a jam-up vacuum. We love the storage of everything, that it has a place for everything. The only thing missing is that we can't find a way to store both of these clip-on things for the wide mouth, for the floor sweep or whatever. You can store one of these actually on that unit, but the other one you have to place somewhere. Now that we could shove it up into the extension tube on the bottom, but it would probably kind of push down this little squeegee feature. But regardless, you're going to have to find a place to store one of these little doohickeys. But everything else is kind of self-contained other than the charger. So you mount your charger somewhere, and then the battery is going to be on the unit or in the charger, and everything else is really contained in the unit. We love that about it. Now, as we mentioned, wet capacity or fluid capacity, you're looking at right at the 5-gallon mark, not the actual 9 gallons. Also, when you're running that filter bag, you're probably going to lessen that as well. And as we saw, the 5 gallons of the bucket, dust and everything didn't really max the capacity of the filter bag, but it was there close. But you're going to get at least 5-6 gallons of actually particulate before you have to empty it. I highly recommend the fleece bag or the filter bags, because it's going to keep everything else clean, and it's going to extend the life of your actual pleated filter. Pricing on this is $299 for the bare tool, which means everything here except the battery and charger, you're going to get a 5-year warranty on the machine, on the vacuum. Now, if you want the kit, it's going to run you $499, so another $200, and that's going to include a 5 amp hour, 56 volt battery and a charger with that. And then you're going to get the 5-year on the vacuum and a 3-year warranty on the battery. Hey, we'll have a link in the description. You can find this at Lowe's. You can find it on Acme Tools. I think you can find it at Amazon and several other places. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. If you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already? And by all means, if you hated our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.